I think Pam Bondi really blew it up on this one. Yeah, Pam kind of screwed up royally. And I suspect that she's going to face the music, so to speak, sooner rather than later. I don't think that she did this deliberately. I want to say that. I think that she has the best of intentions and she has a lot of loyalty to the president. But this is a tough job, and you really kind of have to understand the timing on these things. And clearly she didn't. And so at this moment, as we speak, she is rumored to be out at the DOJ. Pam Bondi possibly, and these are just floating around on Twitter on actually some pretty reputable accounts. It's believed that she's about to be replaced by somebody who's the co-deputy FBI director, Andrew Bailey. Now this, again, I reiterate, would be very interesting ahead of the Epstein files that are coming out within the coming month. So you might want to make sure that you have somebody who really knows how this is supposed to be run, or at least is willing to turn to the experts, right? You want really good attorneys there that you can rely on so that you're not missing deadlines, you're not running into statute of limitation issues, and that you're not screwing things up by, say, deciding to nominate someone yourself instead of saying, okay, we need the justices to weigh in on this. I would say it goes back to, however, Eric Siebert, because she is the one who okayed Eric in the slot, and she never vetted him properly. I mean, this was a guy who Tim Kaine loved in Virginia. Yeah, the guy that ran with Hillary, remember the other Tim? Anyway, Caroline on Fox yesterday trying to insist that they're taking this all the way up the food chain. And I think that that's what Pam would like to do, but I think it's kind of an empty path. Here we go.
Everybody knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
Okay, so here's the problem. There's like all these technicalities, and I know it's painful, but the technicalities are coming back, to haunt them in a big way. I just want to play one more from Caroline.
Lindsay Halligan was legally appointed, and that's the administration's position. I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsay Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it.
And the problem is the dates, like the way this all works out in terms of the dates. Okay, so let's not forget, Pam okayed Eric Siebert. Donald Trump didn't really know who Eric Siebert was. He couldn't care less. He's trusting his team to put in somebody who's going to be an ally. So if we're going to start from the position that Pam Bondi wanted this, okay, that Pam Bondi, head of the DOJ, wanted to make sure that Comey was indicted, and Letitia too, but it was less significant with Letitia because they had time on their side. If Pam said, okay, I want Comey's head on a platter, I want the indictment, then wouldn't you put in somebody who maybe is a little bit more MAGA, who maybe doesn't have the backing of Tim Kaine? I'm just saying, from a political standpoint, let's we're going to throw ethics out the window for a second, and we're just going to say, if I'm a purely political animal, as we know the Democrats are, and I want to make sure that we dot our I's and we cross our T's and we get Comey, because, by the way, they have him on record saying something that's a little different than what he may have ultimately done, and that would be about, leaking. He was leaking like a sieve, allegedly. So if you know this about Comey and you really want to make sure that you bring this case forward, then wouldn't you try to put someone in that you have vetted and that you believe maybe shares your viewpoint on that world? Instead, they get the guy that, the Democrats love. So what's critical is she let the clock run, okay? This is where she screwed up. She put in, and yeah, she may be out of a gig right now. That's what we're hearing. Anyway, she puts in Eric Siebert, okay? And he's the guy that refused to charge Letitia James, totally refused. I mean, I've seen all the insurance documents, the mortgage documents. I mean, to me, that looks like mortgage fraud. And as Lindsay also pointed out, there's plenty of mortgage fraud cases out there, and they've been brought before. And so that is a criminal case that you could bring forward. But Pam okayed this Eric Siebert going in. Eric, who was like buddies, I guess, with Comey's son-in-law, who's also working in the office, is starting to get a little suspicious. Again, like, is nobody vetting anybody? Apparently not. So he gets the gig, and that was something that the DOJ signed off on. So the DOJ had one opportunity to put somebody in for 120 days. During that 120 days, they're considered a temporary appointment, and then they need the Senate to vote on them. So while they were waiting for the Senate to vote on him, at some point, somebody came to the conclusion that Siebert wasn't going to move forward. I think that was Donald Trump. He's like, wait a second, we got like a week left. I mean, like, what's going on, right? So look at the date on this article. September 20th, 2025. U.S. attorney resigns. Donald Trump said he got rid of him, but whatever. The 20th of September. Guess when the clock struck 12 on Comey? September 30th, 2025. So now this guy leaves, and you've got exactly 10 days before the statute of limitations runs out. Why did you let him sit there all that time? Why did you put him in if you thought that he wasn't going to do the job? So they're down to the final count, right? They got 10 days, and what do? They don't have the time. I mean, if Pam Bondi had been watching the clock and thinking about the expiration date on Comey, she would have been all over this guy, riding his tail, right? From day one. What you got? Gimme. And instead, she lets time go by and more time go by and more time go by. So then they go in and they say, we're going to put in Lindsay Halligan. Okay, so that's like error number 2. So they put in Lindsay Halligan, but the way the law actually works is you get one chance, like one bite at the apple. And if your person is not secured, then it's actually kicked back to the state justices, and they get to vote on who's going to be the next temporary U.S. attorney. And so they just ignored that. And Pam's like, okay, we're going to put in somebody. And Donald Trump, what does he know? He's not a legal scholar, for goodness sakes. He's a businessman. The lawyers get in the way. He's just like, make it happen. And I'm telling you, this could have been prevented. If Pam had been following the case from the beginning and keeping an eye on what Eric was doing, this is what I've said. Like, you need somebody who's a great manager. I mean, great. She's good on TV. She looks terrific, right? Perfect. Okay. She looks the part. Let her be your PR person. But be careful who you put in there, because they've got to run this army of lawyers, and they've got to be good managers. They've got to be able to have very high executive functioning skills. They've got to be able to divert to the experts. Go and hire. I think Sullivan and Cromwell works with them. Great law firm, right? Out of New York. You go to your white shoe law firm and you say, okay, what do I do? Because we can't screw this up. But she did. I mean, I think it's pretty much botched at this point. Donald Trump saying at the time, right, when on the 20th of September, when this guy leaves, he said, today I withdrew the nomination of Eric Siebert as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia when I was informed that he received the unusually strong support of 2 absolutely terrible sleazebag Democrat senators from the great state of Virginia. Next time, let him go in as a Democrat, not as a Republican. So he's saying this was kind of a con job. Like, we didn't really know who this guy was. I don't know about that. I mean, it is interesting that you have Democrat support, but let's leave that alone for a second and just say, if you're Pam Bondi, if you're running the DOJ and you know that you want an indictment for Comey, aren't you looking at the calendar? Aren't you saying, okay, we have this much time. We got our temporary guy in there for 120 days. What's taken so long? I know that the statute of limitations is going to run out on Comey on September 30th, 2025. So come on, what are you doing? Like, what's taking, like, wouldn't he have been gone like in the first month? Which, by the way, like, I'm saying, like, this might be something for Donald Trump to think about with Pam Bondi. And I think he's already thinking about it because she screwed up. Now, we could say, like, she's been taking her time and things aren't happening as fast as we'd like. I get it. I know that. We're all very, very anxious. I don't know the legal deadlines on everything. But if you're confronting a statute of limitations issue and your final date is September 30th, 2025, why would it take you until September 20th to get rid of the guy who was supposed to be doing the gig for you? Okay. Like, an indictment is not hard to get, ladies and gentlemen. You can indict a ham sandwich, as they say. So for whatever reason, he was resisting. They put in Halligan who goes in and says, okay, I'm going to fire James Comey's son-in-law for starters. I'm going to, I don't know, maybe he resigned ultimately when she announced the indictment against Comey, but they didn't have any time. They put her in on the 22nd of September. And again, at that point, it's 8 days later, the statute of limitations is going to run out on Comey. On top of which, it's like putting in the substitute teacher, but nobody actually, I know you want to say like the president, I get it, and, you know, supremacy clause and all that, but there is actually like a protocol here. And they just ignored the entire protocol, and they didn't have to do that. My point is they did not have to ignore any of the protocol. If Pam had been doing her job, managing her team, checking in on Eric, saying, where are we? Okay, this guy's not going to do it. He can't stay in this gig. She could have forced him out eons earlier, and they still would have had plenty of time to get one of their people in there. Or how about this? How about this? You guys vet who you're putting in. I mean, I'm starting to sound like Laura Loomer now. But Laura was all over this, right? I don't know in regards to Eric, but in terms of everybody that was in the administration, she's like, for goodness sakes, people, will you vet them? Will you vet them? Will you vet them? Because are they actually going to do what you want? Again, I want to be cautious and careful on this because I'm not suggesting that anybody bring a case that should not be brought. But when I look at the facts of this one, I have only to go back what Comey himself said, and Rand Paul's like, this guy lied. And then I think about all the text messages that Lindsay Halligan brought forward in her discovery, all these different exhibits where he was certainly seeming to suggest that somebody go out there and speak to the media, and he said he didn't do that. Watch.
Wow, there's this little thing called tape.
Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No. I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
And there we have it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? So he was manipulating the media, including somebody who was on the payroll, his Columbia professor, university buddy. Oh, lovely. Who was offering to write glowing pieces for him in the New York Times. I mean, this whole thing, it's all come out, okay? It's all come out. And yet here we are sitting there having to watch him tell us, oh, it was just Donald Trump's bad this and that and the other. The news breaking here. I want to go to a legal analyst on Fox just yesterday.
Getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution. The judge also criticized the DOJ for allowing an FBI agent who viewed Comey's privileged materials to testify to the grand jury. Now, the judge also tossed the case against Letitia James. Donna, we are just getting this on the wire. Talk to us about your top line thoughts in this moment.
Well, frankly, I'm not really surprised about the appointment of the Attorney General on that situation. I did think that that was going to be an issue, and I did think from the very beginning that Comey was going to have a valid legal argument. And what's interesting about the decision is it doesn't go to whether or not crimes are actually committed. It just goes to the way in which the prosecutor was appointed. So I'm not surprised legally when it comes to that issue.
Right. Do we foresee at all then an appeal or a different than prosecution, a second bite of the apple then with procedural things intact?
I would just, I mean, yes, it's a 29-page opinion. I was just reading through it. So sorry if I look distracted during our segment. It doesn't get to the claim of malicious prosecution that Jim Comey was making. So this is solely the appointments clause, and that's why you have both cases dismissed against both individuals.
Exactly. Okay, so the malicious stuff, and this is what just ticks me off, because once again, we got a deep state spin operation going on, ladies and gentlemen, the whole psych op all over again. We got to listen to this guy get on his high and mighty horse, knowing what he did. Here he is, Victor.
The case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price.
Okay.
And I know
Okay.
they
Their
will serve
integrity
again.
because it's malicious prosecution, this, that, and the other. And this is just what kind of annoys me, because when you have incompetence, and again, nothing against her, she's a very nice person. Don't get me wrong, a lovely, lovely person. And I'm sorry, because this was like, forgetting to dot the I's and cross the T's, and these technicalities will get you in the legal business every single time. And that's what really makes me mad. Andy McCarthy, speaking about this, actually, before this all happened, we talked about this here on the show. I want to play you what he said and how he said they might go back for round 2. But guys, I got to tell you, after looking into this, and I spent a lot of time on this last night and all day today, and speaking with legal experts, I don't have a good feeling about Comey now, because I think that she bombed, okay? Bondi bombed.
And this really isn't any fault of Lindsay Halligan's. The statute that she was appointed as interim U.S. attorney under allows the president, or through the attorney general, to appoint an interim U.S. attorney for 120 days. And by the time Halligan got the job, her predecessor, Eric Siebert, had already served the 120 days. So they have a good argument that she's probably not qualified under that statute.
So what's the pushback then? Take her side.
Well, I think the pushback is what the Attorney General and the Justice Department want to argue is that authority to prosecute in the United States comes not from the district U.S. attorney, but from the Justice Department and the Attorney General. So in order to try to firm this up, what Attorney General Bondi did was appoint Halligan as a special attorney and say that that was effective as of 3 days before Comey was indicted. The problem is she didn't do it till October 31st, and she's trying to backdate it, and I don't know if that's going to work with the court.
All right, so what would the move would be? Okay, we'll get another attorney. Is that correct? Is that it? Is that one way to fix it?
What could happen, this could be much ado about nothing, because they could disqualify her, but there's another statute that says the government would have then 6 months to bring a new indictment.
Okay, so she gets disqualified effectively. The judge has said, okay, this doesn't stick because Halligan wasn't appropriately put in this position. And I just keep going back to, why do we even have to have Halligan in the first place? Nothing against her, but if you had done your job and you had vetted everybody, Pam Bondi, then you would not have had the guy who was besties with Comey's son-in-law as the U.S. attorney, and who had been recommended by Tim Kaine, who was the vice presidential candidate under Hillary Clinton. I mean, I'm like blown away by that. And then on top of that, if you were there, like, why wouldn't you have been like following up saying, hey, is there any there now? Again, like, I'm not suggesting you bring a case without the there, but I've seen what you've seen, and I've seen a lot of evidence that suggests there was a whole lot of there. Right? I mean, like all the emails back and forth. His Columbia friend, New York Times op-ed page asked me to write something on your behalf on your letter. I'm not inclined to do so, but if you think it would help things to explain that you blah, 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 blah. Like, he's like, no need. At this point, it would just be shouting into the wind. Someday we'll figure it all out. And as Jack and Ben point out, my decision will be one that President-elect Clinton will be very grateful for, although she doesn't know why I did it. Okay, what's that about? Or how about this? These handwritten notes where he was apparently talking about undermining HRC, the confidence in the system, HRC's plans to hit back at Trump. He was talking about how Kerry could go after Donald Trump and his financial arrangements with Russia, which he didn't have, or debts to Moscow. I mean, whoa, okay, so there's stuff there. And like I said, it's not that hard to get an indictment, but when you just don't, turn in the homework on time, ladies and gentlemen, then what are you supposed to do with this? I mean, Lindsay's coming forward with all her receipts. She had barely any time to pull this all together. It's just kind of a travesty, if you ask me, okay? Kind of a travesty. And then you think about, for goodness sakes, what we're all facing, right? In terms of all this other stuff. I mean, you've got the FBI with the Arctic frost. Discovery, I mean, whoa, 400 conservatives that were allegedly targeted. You got Kash Patel firing people left and right. This one guy, Aaron Tapp apparently was involved with some of the gathering on this. I think that we got a lot of questions to ask there. You've got the president spouting off on social media about all of this. You've got a lot of questions about why they were spying on Republican senators. This is all part of their J6 stuff.
I've recently been informed by Verizon that at least 11 members with Verizon accounts were affected. That includes a hard line for Senator Cruz's office and a staffer's cell phone for former Senator Loeffler. AT&T informed me they challenged the legal basis for Jack Smith's efforts, and Smith backed down.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, right? I'm glad to hear that somebody stood up to Jack Smith. Good for AT&T on that one. My gosh. I mean, I think Kennedy would give that one a thumbs up.
But the phone company and the general counsel for the phone company, or companies, if there were more than one involved, could say, this is serious as an aneurysm. This is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. This is a sitting United States senator. So general counsel would likely advise the CEO, well, you need to file a motion to quash.
Senator, typically phone companies follow a subpoena from a United States attorney.
I know they do, but they don't have to.
They could challenge it, Senator.
Yeah. Or maybe they should have gone to Amazon and buy some testicles online. Instead of just saying, sure, I'll just show you the phone records of a sitting United States senator on the basis of an administrative subpoena.
Right? Like you can't do, I mean, I guess you could if you have a subpoena, but as he's pointing out, like, why wouldn't a phone company challenge that? And I guess in the case of AT&T, according to Grassley, they did. I mean, this is wacky stuff. So we have a lot of questions on Jack Smith. We have a lot of questions on the FBI and what they were doing. We have a lot of questions on a whole lot of stuff. And I don't feel like we're getting answers. And I've been pretty darn nice, right? Wouldn't you say? I've been very kind to Pam. And again, I like her personally. I don't think that there's anything malicious here. I don't think that she's trying deliberately to hurt the president, but I would say that we got this is the big leagues, okay? Like we're in the big leagues. And you need a big league attorney out there, not just one that looks pretty on camera, but can actually run her team and really knows what's going on and is in the trenches and is pounding people. Eric, do we have what we need for the Comey indictment? Oh, it's just going to be another day, ma'am. Just another day. Okay, well, it's been a lot of days. And we don't have a lot of days because the statute of limitations is running out on September 30th, 2025. So we got to get to work, and I'm going to put that at the top of the agenda. And I'm going to ride your you-know-what until we get it done. And she didn't do that. I mean, on top of which, she signed off on putting him in the gig in the first place. Well, why sign off on a guy who's clearly, playing footsies with the Dems? I'm just saying, if you want your case, if you really want it. And I don't know. I mean, I now look at what's going to be coming out, right, in the next 30 days. And let's just say, there's not a lot of trust buildup, because I remember hearing from her how she was getting all this information from the FBI in New York about the Epstein files. It was going to be fantastic. She brought all these influencers, some of whom I know, down to D.C. and sat them around a table and gave them all these files. And they're like, okay, woohoo, we got the files. And there was no there. What was that? She was trying to fake everyone out? Total head fake? I don't think that's going to fly, Pam. I mean, people are smarter than you think. Or maybe just smarter than you. I mean, people are like, okay, well, what's new here? Nothing. And then, she said she was duped and that the New York FBI was not giving her what she needed. Okay, then. And then she finally gets the truckload, and then they're supposed to be coming. I'm telling you, I think people are willing to extend a lot of patience here, but I would say that the president needs to be surrounded by people who are looking out for him and protecting him, okay? And if you've got people that just can't do the basic blocking and tackling because they can't turn their homework in on time, I'm sorry, but that's what this is. She couldn't turn her homework in on time. She was forgetting that the statute of limitations on Comey ran out on September 30th, 2025. You're telling me you're just going to get rid of Eric on September 20th, 2025? Like, how did that happen? And how did it happen that he got put in the gig in the first place? Somebody is incompetent. And I'm sorry, but this is not the president's responsibility. He can't be micromanaging this. That's why he has you there. And Pam, you're supposed to put these cases that you theoretically care about way up on the top burner. Heck, I mean, Biden put the J6 thing way up on the top burner to the point where he was actually investigating the entire MAGA-like movement. God forbid if you talk to any one of those people they were targeting. I mean, for goodness sakes, 8 people that were in elected offices, 7 sitting U.S. senators and 1 congressperson. They were going after their phone records, tolling, as we have to say, because, they're going to get upset if we say wiretapping. It was tolling. They were gathering the metadata to figure out, okay, well, who did he talk to and who did she talk to? And then who did that person talk to? And let's gather their information and their information and their information, figure out where they all are and how long they were talking. That's called spying, okay? That's like a deep state spy op. And we know that was actually issued and ordered by somebody named Siebert over at the FBI, who had kind of a background in this, and he did some funky things on his way to the forum, like, he just kept approving things. Like, he opened a case and then he kept approving his own case, which is actually in violation of the FBI's own rules. This is Timothy Siebert. He eventually resigned. Because it looked like, he might have been allegedly suppressing the FBI's Hunter Biden investigation before the election. Imagine that. I mean, who could ever imagine they might do that? Again, no self-approval rule. Section 3523 of the FBI's Domestic Investigations and Operations Guide, DIOG, is the no self-approval rule, which states that an official who approves an investigation cannot be the one that is ongoing approval. You, in other words, cannot approve your own work. Instead, you need an independent review, and they didn't bother to do any of that. So my point is, these guys are playing hardball like you've never seen before, Pam Bondi, and you either... I'm not saying you do anything illegal. Don't get me wrong. Okay, let's be very clear. Just because, they do illegal stuff doesn't mean we need to do illegal stuff. But at least turn the homework in on time, for goodness sakes, okay? Remember your dates. Know what the timing schedule is and know what, for goodness sakes, the law is. I mean, don't rely on the president to have to remind you to turn in your homework. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable stuff. And you know what? It's going to potentially get worse.